Okay, we're back with Thomas Taylor's dissertation on the philosophy of Aristotle. And we started book 2, chapter 1 last time. We didn't get that far into it. We'll just go ahead and review quickly to get kind of refreshed on it. Starting the new stuff. So, chapter 1. Having therefore presented the reader with an ample account of the principal dogmas of Aristotle's philosophy contained in his Physics, I shall in the next place direct his attention to the most important of the doctrines contained in his treatise on the heavens. The first of these doctrines, then, is this, that a celestial body is perpetual. In order to demonstrate this, he previously evinces that it is different from the four elements. This he shows from the multitude of natural motions. For if natural things are natural from having nature, but nature is a principle of motion, the demonstration from natural motion is at the same time from things more evident, as being from energies, and at the same time, at the same time, is from things more peculiar, as being from causes. But in order to demonstrate the from motions, he preassumes 6 things, viz., that there are 2 simple motions, that which is in a circle and that which is in a right line, that a simple motion is the motion of a simple body, that of a simple body the motion is simple, and that there is one natural motion of one thing, that one motion is contrary to one, and that the heavens are circularly moved. These hypotheses also are mentioned by Plotinus in his treatise on the world. For being desirous to show, according to Plato, the perpetuity of the heavens, he says the demonstration of this will be attended with no labor to Aristotle if his hypotheses about a 5th body are admitted, meaning the above mentioned. For these being admitted, the perpetuity of the heavenly bodies necessarily follows. It is requisite to observe, however, that by simple bodies Aristotle means those which contain a principle of motion according to nature. For animals and plants have also a principle of motion, yet not according to nature, but according to soul. Hence they are differently moved at different times. For composite bodies do not remain in the possession of similar parts, but also receive organic parts, as having a soul which uses the body as an instrument. But nature is the principle of the motion of a simple body, and hence bodies which alone possess nature have alone a simple motion. The following argument, employed by him to show that the heavenly bodies are not moved by violence, appears to me to possess an invincible strength. If a celestial body is moved by violence, it is not moved naturally, and if it is not moved naturally, it is moved contrary to nature. But the motion which is contrary to nature is posterior to that which is according to nature. From that which is contrary implies the prior existence of that which is according to nature. The body, therefore, which is moved with a violent motion, has some natural motion prior to this. Hence, if the heavenly bodies, and it's, I guess, worth noting that matches this Aristotelian logic that of pairs of opposites, one is prior, one posterior, a kind of Pythagorean thing. So the straight measures the curved and is kind of prior to the curved. So the natural motion is that which the violent motion is measured against, and the natural motion is prior. Hence, if the heavenly bodies have always been moved by violence, they have always been moved contrary to nature, at the same time possessing a natural motion, which has never been exerted, but perpetually counteracted. God and nature, however, do nothing in vain. So, that's one argument. God does nothing in vain, against the idea of potentialities existing perpetually and never being actualized. If nature is going to go to the trouble of creating a potentiality, it's going to actualize it sometime or other. This dogma is so very important and so completely subverts the present system of astronomy that I thought it necessary to premise thus much concerning it in order to awaken the attention of the reader to the following more ample discussion of it by Aristotle and his excellent commentator Simplicius. Aristotle, therefore, begins his treatise on the heavens as follows. Aristotle. The science concerning nature nearly appears to be for the most part conversant with bodies and magnitudes, and the passive qualities and motions of these. It is also conversant with such principles as pertain to an essence of this kind. For of things which have a natural subsistence, some are bodies and magnitudes, others have a body and magnitude, and others are the principles of those which have. That is continued, however, therefore, which is divisible into things perpetually divisible. But body is that which is every way divisible. And of magnitude, indeed, that which is divisible in one way is a line, that which is divisible in two ways is a plane, and that which is divisible in three ways is a body. And besides these, there is no other magnitude, because three are all, and thrice includes everything. For as the Pythagoreans also say, the all and all things are bounded by three, since end, middle, and beginning contain the number of the all, and these contain the number of the triad. Hence, assuming this number from nature as if by a law of nature, we use it in the worship of the gods. After this manner also, we assign appellations, for we call two things both, but not all. And we first give the appellation of all to three things. So the authentic existence of all begins with three. We speak, however, in this manner because, as we have said, we follow nature in doing so. Hence, since all things, the all, and the perfect do not differ in form from each other, but if they at all differ, it is in the matter, and in the things of which they are predicated. Body will be the only perfect magnitude, for it is alone bounded by three things, and this is all. And since it is triply divisible, it is every way divisible, because there are no more dimensions along which to divide. But of the other magnitudes, one is divisible in one way, and another in two ways. For as they partake of number, so likewise of division and continuity. Thus, one magnitude is continued according to one dimension, another according to two dimensions, and another is every way continued. Such magnitudes, therefore, and this is the new stuff, such magnitudes, therefore, as are divisible, these also are continued. Okay, so divisible magnitudes are continuous. But whether all continued quantities are divisible is not yet manifest from what we have now said. This, however, is evident that there is not a transition into another genus, as from length into plane, and from plane into body. So from what we said, it's clear that the only hard break between continuous magnitudes is from line to plane and plane to body. For a thing of this kind will no longer be perfect magnitude, since the aggression must necessarily take place according to defect. So the right lines which define the three orthogonal dimensions are perfect measures, and so any division along some curvature away from those three has nowhere else to go. There's other directions, obviously, than the three kind of axes, but any other angle will be a deviation away from the right angle, the true angle, I guess. And it is not possible that the perfect should be deficient, for it is every way complete. Of bodies, therefore, which are in the form of a part, each is of this kind according to definition, for they have all the intervals. Okay, so of bodies, therefore, which are in the form of a part, each is of this kind according to definition. For they have all the intervals. Okay, so in the form of a part. I don't know why he adds that. We'll probably have commentary on that from Simplicius. So of bodies, therefore, which are in the form of a part, each is of this kind according to definition, for they have all the intervals. So bodies are three-dimensional, in other words. They are bounded, however, by coming into contact with that which is near them. So that's why we're talking about those in the form of a part. Bodies are bounded by their contact with adjacent things. Hence, after a certain manner, each body is many, But the all, or universe, of which these are parts, is necessarily perfect, and as the name signifies, is all perfect, and not partly so, and partly not. Simplicius, footnote 3, Aristotle, having observed that body, so far as body, is among things endued with interval perfect, because it has all intervals, since the universe also and the whole world is perfect, lest anyone should think that he asserts there is the same species of perfection and allness both in body and the world, he very properly here makes a division and says that the bodies of some parts, that of bodies some are parts and are comprehended in the form of a part, as the heavens, fire, air, water, and earth, but that another body is the whole of which these are parts. And the partial bodies are perfect in that they contain all possible intervals, 3 dimensions, but the whole is perfect in that it's all perfect. In another way, in partial bodies are limited by their adjacencies to other things, and so they're defined by where they end, they're defined by a deficiency, whereas the all perfect body of the universe has no adjacency to things external, so it's lacking nothing. Obviously totally consistent with the Timaeus. He also observes that of bodies which rank as parts, the all and the perfect are predicated according to the reason and definition of body. So we call it all and perfect because of the definition of body, because body is that which possesses a triple interval, and an interval every way, but yet as that which is partial and does not comprehend all things, for it has many things external to itself, and is divided by many things coming into contact with them. On this account also, each is a many according to the contacts of many parts. Hence, it is not all and perfect, according to hypostasis or subsistence, for according to this it has a transition to something else, and on this account is imperfect. But the all and the whole of which these are parts is not perfect according to the definition of body, but from comprehending all things, from having nothing external to itself, and not from being divided with reference to anything else by contact. Hence, in all these ways, it is perfect. So body in general is perfect in some sense, but the body of the all is perfect in another sense. Aristotle, concerning the nature of the universe, however, whether it is infinite in magnitude, or whether the whole bulk is finite, must be considered by us afterwards. Let us, however, now speak about the parts of the universe according to species, making the beginning as follows. Okay, dividing up the elements, I guess, or we'll see what the parts of the universe are. So, footnote 4, Simplicius. Aristotle, having shown in what manner each body is perfect, viz., the part and the whole, and that the whole is that which has nothing external to itself, perceived that a thing of this kind required demonstration, and whether as infinite it has nothing external to itself, or as finite. But perhaps it may appear to be consequent to the discussion of the nature of a simple body to speak about the nature of the universe, and then about the parts of it. Since, however, he comprehends the discussion of the nature of the universe in that of the heavens, for showing that the heavens are finite, he will show that the universe is finite. On this account, he rejects the discussion of the universe, first proposing to speak about the parts of it, and what and how many they are. But he very properly says whether it is infinite in magnitude, because it is infinite according to the extension of its being and according to time. He also calls the parts of the universe, according to species, those which specifically differ from each other. He also calls the parts of the universe, according to species, those which specifically differ from each other, viz., heaven, fire, air, water, and earth, since these are the immediate parts of the universe. For the parts of earth and of each of the other elements consisting of similar parts are also parts of the universe, but not immediate parts, but parts of parts. And these are things which are properly called not parts, but particles. The immediate parts of the universe, therefore, are these which are specifically different. Aristotle. We say then that all natural bodies and magnitudes are essentially movable according to place. For we say that nature is the principle of motion to them. But all such motion, as is according to place, and which we call lation, is either in a right line or in a circle, or mixed from these. For those two motions alone are simple, and this is because a right line and a circumference are the only simple magnitudes. Okay. Footnote 5, Simplicius. Plato, as well as Aristotle, appears to assign another essence to a celestial body. For if he thinks that there are 5 specific elements of the 5 bodies, assigns the dodecahedron to the heaven or the universe, and says that every other figure, except the pyramid, viz. The octahedron, icosahedron, and cube, are different from the celestial figure, it is evident that according to him a celestial body is essentially different. And that Plato also asserts that there are 5 simple bodies according to the 5 figures is sufficiently evident from the following testimony of Xenocrates, the most genuine of his associates, who, in his Life of Plato, thus writes, quote, "In this manner, therefore, he distributes animals, perfectly dividing them into ideas and parts, till he had arrived at the 5 elements, which he denominates the 5 figures and 5 bodies, viz., ether, fire, water, earth, and air. Hence, according to Plato, the dodecahedron is the figure of a simple body, viz., of the heaven, which he calls ether. But if he says that the heaven consists of fire, he asserts this of it as consisting of light, for he says that light is a species of fire." Okay, I mean, the typical line is that, like, Plato treats ether as just a rarefied air. That's what I've heard before. But if he says the heaven consists of fire, he says it consists of light. Light is a species of fire, but that doesn't get you the 5th element yet. And he asserts that the stars are composed from the 4 elements, not from those in generation or the sublunary region, but from fire, indeed, according to the luminous, from earth according to sensible resistance, and from the middle elements according to middle characteristics. Okay, so it's not the corporeal element of fire, earth, air, water that the heavenly bodies are composed of, but it is these sensible or intelligible characteristics of the elements that are present in the heavens. If, therefore, Aristotle acknowledges the visibility and tangibility of the stars, neither will he also deny that the celestial bodies are composed from the summits of these. So they have visibility and tangibility, so they have something of fire and earth, but it's not the same fire and earth, it's the summit of fire, summit of earth that's in the heavenly bodies, in which the perfection, likewise, of the elements consists. So the perfection of the elements is in the celestial bodies. For he is everywhere of opinion that they are foreign from the 4 sublunary elements, which are moved in a right line and are imperfect. So it's not clear, is Xenocrates kind of disagreeing with Aristotle, saying Aristotle shouldn't deny that the 4 mundane elements do apply to the celestial bodies, because he attributes aspects of the mundane elements, like tangibility and visibility, to them. And yet he says that the celestial bodies are foreign to the 4 sublunary elements. So yeah, Xenocrates says they're not foreign, they're just the summits of the sublunary elements. Aristotle, according to Xenocrates, is going to say it is a foreign element. In like manner, if he says that the heaven is a simple body, it is reasonable that he should deny it to be composed from the 4 elements, and that he asserts it to be animated and an animal, we shall learn, and also that he is of opinion that animals have composite bodies, but that the stars, so he's just kind of highlighting the tensions and Aristotle's treatment, like he attributes compound aspects to the heavens and yet calls it a simple body. So presumably he shouldn't be calling it a simple body. But that the stars are not only natural bodies, but that they are also especially movable according to place, is at the same time evident from local motion being the first of other motions, according to all the modes of priority. For he shows in the last book of his Physics, dividing two natural motions, he says that some are simple, but others not simple. But the demonstration that there are simple bodies, but the demonstration that there are simple motions readily follows from admitting that there are simple motions of simple bodies. And the circular and rectilinear motions are simple, that they are, is evident, for neither of them is composed from things of a different nature. So there's no compound of different types of things, it's just one type of thing in each. But that these alone are simple motions, he shows from the hypothesis of lines. For all motion is produced on some linear extension. If, therefore, there are only two simple lines, there are only two simple motions. For he does not suppose magnitudes to be the producing causes of motions. He does not suppose magnitudes to be the producing causes of motions, but considers them as the material causes, or as having the relation of things without which motions would not exist, as Alexander observes. Okay, so he derives two motions from two lines, not because these magnitudes produce the motions, but because they are like the substrate of the motions. Motion subsists in an extension, a linear extension. So lines are not the producing cause or efficient cause of motions. Instead, they are the matter of motion. And every motion existing, it is impossible that there should not be magnitude. But magnitude existing, it is not necessary that there should be motion, which consequence is adapted to matter. Right. So matter being inferior and passive, it doesn't necessitate the motion which it enables. But the motion being present, this assumes the substrate. For activity to take place, there was some passivity, whereas the passivity can exist without the activity. Which makes it sound like the kind of passive material aspect is superior in some sense, because more like logically necessary, but maybe we can just skip over that. Let's read the sentence again. And every motion existing, it is impossible there should not be magnitude, but magnitude existing, it is not necessary there should be motion, which consequence is adapted to matter. Simplicius adds, it is perhaps necessary to observe that the figure of magnitude, being supposed, is sometimes the cause of motion to body. The figure of magnitude, being supposed, is sometimes the cause of motion. Interesting. The figure, so I guess he's saying like if there's a ramp or something, like a figure causes motion to a body in some cases. This is just like an exception to the rule that Xenocrates put forward. Okay. All right, so that sentence was, for those two motions alone are simple, and this is because a right line and a circumference are the only simple magnitudes. Going on with Aristotle. The motion in a circle, therefore, is about the middle, but the motion in a right line is upward and downward. I call, however, the motion upward, which is from the middle, but the motion downward, which is to the middle. Yeah, because downward is according to the earth, and the earth is at the middle of the cosmos. Hence, it is necessary, with respect to all simple lation, that one kind should be from the middle, another to the middle, and another about the middle. And this appears reasonably to follow from what was said in the beginning, for a body is completed in three things, and also the motion of body. Cool. Footnote 6. Simplicius, Aristotle, having said that there are two simple motions, the rectilinear and the circular, defines each of them, denominating the circular motion that which is about the middle of the universe, which he demonstrates, as Alexander says, through what follows. Hence, the motion of bodies, which is not about the middle of the universe, will not be a simple circular motion. For, in a certain respect, it will have the upward and downward, each part sometimes becoming upward and sometimes downward. That Aristotle also assumes the same middle in a circular and in a rectilinear motion is evident from his saying, quote, hence it is necessary with respect to all simple lation, etc. I think there should be an end quote there. But he wishes to assign all of them according to one habitude to the middle, and the motions to the right and to the left, before and behind, when they are simple, are either made to the upward or to the middle region. So left and right, etc., is all kind of reduced under the class of up and down, because we're talking toward the center or away from the center, and there's nothing alternative to that other than the circle, which is perpendicular to the center. For the motions of animals are no longer simple, in consequence of the extension and inflection of the members, and hence simple oblique motions, which are upward and downward, are in a right line. Thus Alexander. Perhaps, however, to the motion to the right and left, before and behind, is not the motion of simple bodies according to nature, but of animals which have parts situated on the right and left, before and behind. Okay, so one possibility was that you could subsume right and left, etc., under up and down, according to the definition of rectilinear motion against the center. But then perhaps another way of thinking about it is that the only simple motions are up and down and circular, because the souls which have complex motions have complex parts, and have parts situated on the left and right and the back and forth. And so, therefore, these left, right, back, forth motions are inherently complex. This is what Simplicius seems to endorse. I don't know how I feel about that. I think actually Alexander's comment is maybe better. But earth and water, or anything else of this kind, are not moved with such a motion, except they are thrown by violence, or impelled, or drawn by many things. But Aristotle, assuming from evidence that there are two simple lines, the right and the circular, and that simple motions are produced according to simple lines, syllogizes as follows. Simple motions are produced according to simple lines. Motions which are produced according to simple lines are produced according to a right and a circular line, and the conclusion is evident. Wait, so the conclusion is simple motions are produced simple lines, motions were produced according to simple lines are produced according to the right and circular line. Okay, therefore simple motions are produced according to right or circular line. Afterwards, he, in a similar manner, again assumes as evident that in a definite sphere, that is especially a right line, which is from the center to the periphery. Hence, in definite sphere, there are two motions in a right line, one upward from the middle, but the other downward to the middle. There are therefore three simple motions, one from the middle, second to the middle, and third about the middle. Go back up here. And this appears reasonably to follow from what was said in the beginning, for bodies completed in three things, and also the motion of body. Since, however, of bodies some are simple, and others composed from these, but I call those bodies simple which have a motion. But I call those bodies simple which have a principle of motion according to nature, such as fire and earth, and the species of these, and also things allied to these. Hence, it is necessary that of motions some should be simple, and others in a certain respect mixed. that the motions of simple bodies should indeed be simple, but those of composite bodies mixed, and that they should be moved according to that which predominates in them. Okay, so we'll read footnote 7 now. Aristotle, having confirmed the first hypothesis, which says that there are three simple motions, from the middle to the middle and about the middle, passes on to the second and third hypotheses, showing that of a simple body, the motion is simple, and that a simple motion is the motion of a simple body. But he shows this by first dividing motions into simple and mixed, and afterwards bodies into simple and composite. And simple bodies being defined, he very properly attributes simple motions to simple bodies, but mixed motions to composite bodies. For all motion is of some body according to place. But he calls simple bodies those which contain a principle of motion according to nature. For animals and plants have a principle of motion, yet not according to nature, but according to soul, and hence they are differently moved at different times. For composite bodies do not remain in homeomere, or in the possession of similar parts, but also receive organic parts, as having a soul which uses the body as an instrument. But nature is the principle of motion of a simple body, and hence bodies which alone possess nature have alone a simple motion. But what these bodies are, he subjoins when he says, quote, such as fire and earth and the species of these, and also things allied to these. Denominating the species of earth, indeed, the sandy and the stony, the argillaceous, the white, the black, and the like, but calling the species of fire a burning coal, flame, and light, as Plato says. Alexander also well explains this as follows. Aristotle, when he says such as fire and earth, adds, and the species of these, implying by this universally all fire, and universally all earth, not this particular kind only, but simply every species of fire and earth, so far as they are fire and earth. But air is allied to fire, and water to earth, and this will also be the case if there is any other simple body, as it will be shown that there is a fifth body, for this also is a natural body. So he says, species of fire and earth, and things allied to these, the things allied are the other two elements, and then presumably also the fifth element, which we'll get to. Simple motion also is one, for a simple motion is the motion of a simple body. And a simple body, if it is in reality simple, contains in itself the principle of one motion. So a simple body, if it is in reality simple, contains in itself the principle of one motion, for if it contains the principle of many and simple motions, it will no longer be a simple body, but will be composed from as many things as it contains principles of motion. For if it contains the principle of many and simple motions, it will no longer be a simple body, but will be composed from many things as it contains principles of motion. Sorry, I'm just having a kind of brain fog moment. We're still tracking here. For in this, a composite differs from a simple body, viz., in containing in itself the principles of many simple motions. One motion, however, is not always simple, for the motion of animals is not properly one, since it is produced according to the extension and inflection of the members. But an oblique motion, such as that of some of the stars, is one indeed, but not simple, for it is composed from the upward and downward motion. The motion also, according to a spiral, is composed from a rectilinear and circular motion. Aristotle adds, it is necessary that they should be moved according to that which predominates in them, looking to the four elements as they are called, which are not properly simple, but are moved with simple motions according to that which predominates. For they will not be simple in separate places, since they are generated with a view to the composition of the universe. Hence, being moved according to that which predominates, they are simple in their own, but not in other places. The heavens, too, according to Plato, and Aristotle does not dissent from this doctrine. Oh, wait, I see. The heavens, too, according to Plato, and Aristotle does not dissent from this doctrine, are composed from the summits of the four elements. So Simplicius is saying that Aristotle doesn't disagree that the heavenly bodies are composed of the summits of the four elements, even though he seems to say that they are exempt from the four elements of the world of generation. And here we have a footnote on the footnote. By the summit of a thing, the first most pure and causal subsistence of that thing is to be understood. The first mundane subsistence, therefore, of the elements is in the heavens, in which they subsist according to a fiery characteristic, and thus subsisting are the causes of the sublunary elements. Since the heavens are visible and tangible, the summit of fire predominating in them. But the heavens are said to be simple, as also the four sublunary elements, when compared with composite bodies. For every body which is moved with a simple motion is either simple, or is moved with such a motion from something simple predominating in it. But if this be true, and if the body which is moved circularly is a composite, it will be moved with this simple motion according to the predominance of something simple in it, and not so far as it is a composite. So, all right, the heavenly bodies are composed of a composite of the summits of the elements, and they can still, nevertheless, have a simple motion because one of these superlative elements predominates in it, and it is specifically the summit of fire which predominates in the heavenly bodies, and yet it has a different natural motion than the lower fire, which the natural motion of the lower fire is, of course, upward. The natural motion of the fiery nature of the heavenly bodies is circular. So that has not been explained. Why the, what was the term he used? The summit. So the summit of fire moves one way, but then the rest of the fire moves another way. Remains to be explained. Okay, so... but those of composite bodies mixed, and they should be moved according to that which predominates in them. Going on with Aristotle, if therefore there is a simple motion, but the motion in a circle is simple, and if a simple motion is of a simple body, for if it is the motion of a composite body, it will be according to that which predominates, it is necessary that there should be a certain simple body, which is adapted according to its own nature, to be moved with a circular motion. Okay. So if circular motions are explained by simple bodies, and there are circular motions, there must be some body with a circular motion. Footnote 8. Aristotle here syllogizes as follows: since a circular motion is simple, but a simple motion is the motion of a simple body, and of a simple body there is a simple motion, it is necessary that there should be some simple body which is adapted according to its nature to be moved with a circular motion. But that which precedes is true, for it has been demonstrated, and consequently that which follows is true. Perhaps, too, as Simplicius justly adds, Aristotle produces the syllogism hypothetically, from philosophic caution. But it is evident that the hypothetic lemmas being demonstrated, it is possible to syllogize categorically, as here. So he states it as a dialectical argument, but it's really demonstrative. A circular motion is simple. A simple motion is the motion of a simple body. A circular motion, therefore, is the motion of a simple body. Hence, the body is simple, which is naturally moved with a circular motion. Quid est demonstrandum. For it is possible that a thing may be moved by violence with the motion of another thing, and with another motion. But it is impossible that it should be thus moved according to nature, since there is one natural motion of every simple body. Footnote 9. Aristotle, having shown that there is a certain simple body which is naturally adapted to be moved with a circular motion, he shows, consequent to this, that there is no one of the four elements which is moved with a circular motion, neither naturally nor contrary to nature, and that no one of them is circularly moved according to nature. He shows as follows: if there is one natural motion of every simple body, for of simple bodies the motion is simple, and a simple motion is one, it is evident that of each of the four elements, since they are simple, there is one simple motion according to nature. If, therefore, the motion of them is naturally in a right line, it is evident that a circular motion will not be natural to them. But if they are moved circularly, such a motion will be violent to them. Thus fire may be moved downward and circularly, but it is impossible that it should be moved naturally, with the motion of another thing, since of every simple body there is one natural motion. But as he before demonstrated that if any composite body is moved with a circular motion, since this motion is simple, it is so moved according to the predominance of something simple in it. Thus also he now demonstrates that if anything is violently moved with a circular motion, there is always something which is circularly moved according to nature. Sure. Okay, so we're going to get to, therefore, there's another simple body to account for circular motion. Again, if the motion which is contrary to nature is contrary to that which is in accordance with nature, and one motion is contrary to one, it is necessary, since the motion in a circle is simple, if the motion of the body which is moved is not according to the nature of the body, that it should be contrary to it. If, therefore, it is fire, or anything else of this kind which is moved in a circle, the natural lation of it will be contrary to circular lation. But one motion is contrary to one, and the motions upward and downward are contrary to each other. If, however, there is any other body which is moved in a circle contrary to nature, there will be some other motion of it according to nature, but this is impossible, for if its motion is upward, it will be fire or air, and if downward, it will be water or earth. Footnote 1 again. Aristotle consequently shows that if a circular motion does not naturally belong to any one of the four elements, any one of them that is supposed to be so moved must necessarily be moved contrary to nature. If, therefore, it has been demonstrated that such a motion is not natural to, it must be concluded that it does not belong to any of the elements. That it is necessarily, therefore, contrary to nature, if not natural, he shows that from that which subsists contrary to nature being contrary to that which is according to nature. Hence, a subsistence according to nature not being present, a subsistence contrary to nature must necessarily be present, and this and nothing else is contrary. For nature is not unjust, opposing many things to one. But he informs us in a wonderful manner what is the cause of this. For if a circular motion is not natural, it is necessarily contrary to nature, because it is simple. But if it were not simple, it might not be contrary, but only not according to nature. Wait. I'm not tracking here. So if a circular motion is not natural, it is necessarily contrary to nature because it is simple. For if it were not simple, it might not be contrary, but only not. Okay, so that's what it is. So it's, if it were simple, it couldn't be the contrary of a simple motion, but it could be not according to the nature of that simple motion, but it won't be the proper contrary. But that which is moved with a simple motion is necessarily moved either with that motion, which is natural, or with that which is contrary to nature, or with some intermediate motion which will not be simple. But that no one of the four elements is circularly moved contrary to nature. I need to pay close attention here. Let's go back a little bit. From that which is moved with a simple motion is necessarily moved either with that motion which is natural, or with that which is contrary to nature, or with some intermediate motion which will not be simple. But that no one of the four elements is circularly moved contrary to nature, he again shows, using this position, that one motion is contrary to one. For if a motion upwards is natural to fire, but upward is contrary to downward, and one motion is contrary to one, a circular motion will neither be natural nor contrary to nature to fire, and the same reasoning will apply to each of the remaining three elements. But that a circular motion is not contrary to nature to any other simple body, he shows from this, that there ought to be some simple motion according to nature of a body which is simple. But simple motions in a right line are alone the upward and the downward, with one of which, if anything is moved, it will be one of the four elements, and nothing else. And as there are two simple motions in a right line, the upward and the downward, not two elements only with a rectilineal motion, but four will be produced, the cause of which is assigned by Aristotle in his discussion of the heavy and the light, viz., that earth is simply heavy, but fire simply light, because the former subsists under all things, but the latter emerges above all things. But air and water communicate with both, for they are both heavy and light, though not with reference to the same thing. Hence, fire and earth are properly simple elements. So, okay. There's like one natural motion, upward and downward, of the two properly simple elements, and the others are intermediate. They're still treated in some sense as simple, but they're not the properly simple elements. So that's how you get the four. You get the one and the two, and then the mixture between them in different, as according to which is predominant. But it's not a physical mixture like that. They're still simple. Again, they're simple bodies in some sense, but not properly simple, which is a kind of odd distinction. But Simplicius farther observes that Ptolemy, in his treatise on the elements, and in his Optics, and also the great Plotinus, and Xenarchus in his Doubts against a Fifth Essence, assert that the motions of the elements in a right line are made while they are in a place contrary to their nature, yet not in a place according to their nature. So their natural motions are only when they're deprived of their natural position. To this opinion, Aristotle also appears to assent. I thought that was Aristotle's opinion, by the way. He also appears to assent when he says, in the fourth book of this treatise, and in his books on generation and corruption, that the body which tends to its proper place tends to its proper form. For if things which aspire after their proper place and their proper wholeness, olotes, are moved from a foreign place and from a situation contrary to nature, it is evident that when they are so moved, they have not a natural subsistence. And from a situation contrary to nature, it is evident that when they are so moved, they have not a natural subsistence. But as the above-mentioned philosophers observe, the elements, when they have a natural subsistence and are in their proper places, are either permanent or are moved in a circle. From a situation contrary to nature, it is evident that when they are so moved, they have not a natural subsistence. Okay, so if they're moved away from their natural place, that has to be violent. But as the above mentioned philosophers observe, the elements, when they have a natural subsistence and are in their proper places, are either permanent or are moved in a circle. So this is accounting for circular motion by saying you've got to the right level according to that up-down spectrum. And now that you're there, you're just going to stay put, or the only other motion available is a circle, and so then they move circularly. Earth, indeed, water, and collected air are permanent, but fire and the highest part of air are moved in a circle. So fire, and this is in, I don't know where exactly. Other Neoplatonists discuss this. I think Proclus describes this somewhere, where fire goes all the way to the firmament and then is blocked from ascension because it's too corporeal to enter into the heavenly, ethereal kind of realm. And then it still has to move because fire is of its nature very motive because of the shape of the tetrahedron. And so then it has to move left or right, and it rotates around the circumference of the earth. So that's one way to account. Simplicius adds for the circular motion. We'll see, by contrast, how Aristotle accounts for the circular motion. Well, I mean, it seems like he's just going to account for it by a fifth body, which naturally moves in a circle. Okay. This might be the best place to stop for a while. Yep, unfortunately it is. So we're just going to go ahead and keep it simple. We've just looked at the different simple motions. He's beginning to look at how the circular motion comes about. So last time I added this line, there we go. Now we have a line indicating where we will begin. So we're all set for next time. Any last thoughts on the reading today? Not a lot to comment. A lot of it's like familiar. We've heard this stuff before, but it's just getting very detailed into exactly how Aristotle justifies these conclusions. This is one text from Aristotle that I've not read directly on the heavens. I definitely should. But yeah, any comment?
No.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So we'll pick this up before too long here, either next Saturday or sooner if possible. So thanks for participating.